And we're live. What's going on, Matt Pack? Nice to have you.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. Anthony, good to finally meet
happening,
you.
brother?
Yeah.
I know.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. We've talked before about meeting up, so we finally made it happen.
It's funny. We live in Miami. It's like this vast distance, and it's not. Like, it's just hard to catch up with people sometimes.
Yeah, man. It does feel segregated at times, like separated. You know, you're up in Miami Shores. I'm on the beach. He's down in South Miami. So
And people don't leave the beach.
nah, I never leave the beach. I never leave. It took him getting me here to leave the beach. You know, come to Brickell. So.
And it's so small though, too, right? And especially in our industry, you know everybody. If they're bad, you know, and if they're good, you know that too, right? It's like you can't.
It's true.
Can't hide.
And everybody's their own little world, unless you're from Kendall. If you're a Kendall partier, you'll go anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, you'll chase a party for sure. Yeah, Kendall's a whole different country. You should need a passport to go to Kendall.
Right.
But so what's been going on, man? How have you been?
Man, on a pivot, man.
Yeah.
On a pivot, just like everyone else. Like the fitness industry is changing, just like everywhere. It's like so funny. Like my wife's a lawyer, and all my clients are too, as well as yours. But you keep hearing like, why do we need a brick and mortar anymore? Like even lawyers are like, I'm fine at home. I'm good at home. Like, what's this?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I have a ton of friends who are who are at home, working from home. They're going to be there for a couple of years, you know? So it's pretty interesting.
I mean, if you can do it, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all you got to do for the Zoom call is have a tie on with no pants. You're good to go, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did a couple of FaceTime sessions for my bed. You know, my clients are just like, yeah, fuck it.
It's funny when I first started because I'm new to Zoom, period. Like I've done a couple of Zoom interviews and stuff like that, but Zoom workouts, I almost felt like I had to be standing, and I had to be like working out too. Like I felt like I had when you're in the gym, like you don't want to be lazy. Like I'm not sitting around with my clients in a private session at the gym. But when I started Zoom, I'm like, what do I do? Like, I'm like, I've demonstrated, now what? Like, I was like, fuck it, man. I'm going to start sitting down at the computer. You know, like, they know what it is now. And I just correct them, you know, but it's just odd. It's so new.
It's crazy, man. I'm going to tell you, like, it's one of those things where it's just you're realizing, too, I think in the industry, in different industries that, you know, you can get shit done, you know, not having to be at a certain place, you know, all the time. And still get productivity out of it. Mm-hmm. You know, you're hearing businesses now saying that, hey, when we come back, we're gonna, you know, bring down the capacity, you know, to half. You know, we're not gonna be in this big location anymore. We're gonna get half the size, or we're not gonna have one at all. So, and this goes for every kind of business, not just fitness. But I think it's just interesting to see where things are starting to shift, and just I think two people making those future business decisions on what's gonna help them best. You know, and also too saying maybe, you know what, maybe they're like, you know what, I enjoy this better, you know, not having to run this entire thing, and I'm still making good money, and I could just do this all at home. I don't have to worry about, you know, overhead, you know,
gas, traffic,
all that.
So, yeah, a good quote. I thought I made it up the other day. I swear I was in a conversation with somebody, and I was like, evolve or dissolve. And I was like, damn, that shit was tight.
Damn, that's money.
I Googled it, and I was like, nah, somebody got me on that. I don't think I read it anywhere. But anyway, yeah, you got to evolve. It's just the way the world is. And online, I mean, it's limitless.
Yeah, it's been crazy to see how many trainers have really shifted online and the different types of ways that they've been doing it. You know, like I know you do a lot of, you know, more personalized online training where you're really tailoring it to what that specific individual does. But then you have people like me and, you know, Anthony, who have those like churn and burn workouts, right? That people also love to do. So it's been pretty, and you have a lot of people doing, like you said, Zoom stuff.
Well, that's smarter, right? I mean, I think there's a place and a time for that stuff, right?
Right.
And we can talk about that. But I think something's better than nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and most people don't need, you know, some sort of extravagant, you know, they don't need a movement screen, and they don't need, you know, this customized, you know, anatomically correct. I mean, obviously you want to have good quality movement, and you can watch them through the screen, but, you know, push-ups and squats and bent rows and pull-ups, deadlifts, lunge patterns, right? Movement, like we always talked about.
Yeah, you keep it simple.
Yep. And I think most people can benefit from that.
But there is also something to say, you know, when you do have people paying, you know, it's not like the service that you're providing online is cheap. So, you know, it does say something that there is some sort of a desire for a little bit more personalization, a little bit more tailoring to what their specific needs are, because you are successful with that, and I know a lot of other people in the industry are as well.
Yeah, creating those layers I think is important. I've got a $99 kind of nutrition only program, like in a small group. It's in a private Facebook group, and then I've got like another layer that adds in exercise that we're doing the Zoom private workouts. The Zoom live workouts from Primal Fit. That's another layer. And then you can kind of step it up from there. How much time do they need? What's the problem? And the solution depends on the price, right? The price depends on the solution. They need more of my time and more customization, then that's what they'll get. But they'll have to pay for it.
No, definitely. And I think that's the beauty of it, that online you can give that variety of options. Where you don't want to do too much variety, but you want to give enough where you have your first basic package to tailor for a certain crowd of people. Then you have your intermediate, and then you have your more tailored high ticket item where for somebody who really wants to take full control and take their whole life to the next level. And now you can just be more detailed and actually give them more of a constructed program that you created for them. So yeah, I think that it's changing the game. I think all this stuff is changing the game. And then you see the hybrid stuff where they'll do some pre-recorded, some one-on-one through Zoom, and stuff like that, where they'll mix it up, and now the person can still get a coach experience live. And then, well, here you go. Here's your homework, all pre-recorded. You got to do these for the next days in the week.
Exactly.
So I know there's just so many ways that you can play with these online programs. I guess that makes it very versatile.
For sure. It's a saturated market. We've talked about it. Online can be super saturated, and
the fitness industry in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Because anybody can do it. You know what I mean? We've talked about it. Like, there's no. How many people I've known that like come out of prison
and then be a trainer.
And be a trainer. Like,
Yeah.
and that's cool. Hey, look, that's good, man. It's a positive thing. They got jacked while they were in, and they're like got their little cert while they were in, and they can't get a regular job. They got a felony, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but there's no regulatory umbrella over our industry. It's a wild, wild west. We've talked about that many, many times.
Yeah, and Anthony and I have actually discussed that on the podcast before, where we have very different paths to where we've gotten today. He's taken a much more informal route where I
came out of prison.
Yeah, and I came out of prison for sure. I got the prison test to prove it. I went to undergrad and grad school and went the more like traditional route. And I want to get your take, like where do you think that the fitness industry needs to catch up in that aspect, right? Because not everyone needs a degree. That's not always important, right? Especially in our field, I think a lot of people, including myself, took on a ton of debt in order to get the degrees, where I could have read 50 books.
Yep.
But there definitely does need to be some sort of change where there is like sort of a higher standard being held in our industry. And how do you feel about that?
Let me ask you a question. Knowing what you know now and the continuing education that you've paid for and the time you've put in after college, what do you think was more valuable?
I think they both had a time and a place.
Yeah.
Like I personally, right, I needed to grow up a lot. So I think undergrad really helped me take care of becoming a much more mature. I come from a really small town, right? So everything was super safe. No matter what you did, you weren't really getting in trouble. Nothing was really an issue. But once I got to college and I had to have some real responsibilities, I worked in athletics, so I was up early and staying awake late, over there, and I had to really find a way to manage my time.
Character building.
Yeah, and that translated a lot into fitness, right? Because we're on a tight time schedule too, so that really paid off in that aspect. And then once I got to grad school is when I really started to learn a lot about training. One, because I was working more hands-on with the athletes instead of just like wiping down benches and watching them. But also like learning a lot more about the science. I think that the program at FAU was really good. I was with Mike Zordos. I got to learn from Lane Norton, a lot of the OGs in the field. So I was very blessed in that aspect. But my sister is in college right now, and she started out as exercise science. Now she's PE. But I told her, I was like, listen, you don't have to go to college. You don't. she's lucky where she got a lot of scholarships and stuff where she's, her tuition's not super expensive, but we both, like I went to Syracuse, she's there now, that's $65,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you're paying full tuition to then go into health and fitness, I told her, like, listen, you'd be better off coming down here. I'll give you 50 books to read. You intern with me. If it works out, then
because the burnout of if you're going to go trainer route, what's 3 years?
Yeah,
maybe 5.
Yeah, I mean, we were at Equinox. It's less than that, 6 months sometimes. Failure rate.
Like, I'm out. I'm not in this. I mean, this is not fun waking up at 4 a.m. every day.
Yeah, I mean, the failure rate for new hires there is like over 70%. It's not a small amount. So I had told her, like, listen, you can do this. I think it'd be good for you because she needed to grow up a lot too, but you don't have to do that. You can come down here, I'll help you out as best I can and give you the resources you need. But, obviously she decided to get into PE anyway, so she'd have to go that formal route.
I'll tell you this, and my dad's big on this too, is like a trade. Like, what I do is a trade. I mean, if you really think about it, you can go to trade school, but I can do it anywhere. And I'm confident enough. I had to pick up shop, close down here. I've done it before. I came from DC. I've moved and relocated and built my clientele multiple times. I'll go to China, maybe. I can go.
I'm not going to China.
I think I could go basically anywhere, and I will build another clientele, and I'll be fine. But to answer that first question, it's a little different now, right? Like I forgot who I was speaking to the other day about Perform Better. Before the Perform Better seminars and the continuing eds they have now all over the country, there was a magazine where you bought equipment. It's where we got.
Yeah, I still get it.
Yeah,
they still send it out.
Right,
I get
they still send it. But this is 2000. That's where we used to get our kettlebell from, or you'd get your body fat caliber, or you'd
throw back to the body fat calibers,
Yeah, back in the day. And then in the book, you saw Juan Carlos Santana, you saw Paul Checks, you saw like some big these heavy hitting smart dudes that you were like, yo, that my little education, my Gold's Gym education. I was at exercise science at Marymount at that time too, but like Paul Check blew my mind back then. I dove in on Paul Check stuff, and Anthony made. I'm sure you heard of him, but he's not as big as he used to be.
No, but still very relevant.
Yeah,
still putting out a lot of good stuff.
And that book was full of some smart dudes. Carlos Santana, who's in Boca, but I dove into that shit, and so I had that, and I think that's lacking now because it's so diverse out there with the web now, and so saturated. Like, people don't, like, if you ask most trainers, and that's a question I usually ask new hires, is like, hey, who do you study? And they're always like, huh?
Oh, they name people on Instagram. This, waist trainer, salesman.
Exactly. Who's your mentor? What's the last book you read? They're like clueless, like a deer in the headlights. So back then, like, there was just so many people, because Paul Check would lead me, to Eric Cressy, or, it was Kim Goss, or like there was this just tree of knowledge that took off, because I read this book and it led me over here, and then this book led me over here, and this person, and this big, and then there was T Nation, and T Nation blew up.
Yep.
I mean, so many good, smart dudes came from T Nation, and I don't know if we have that for our up and coming trainers anymore.
That umbrella.
I mean, to kind of mention another point off your previous question, what do I appreciate the most about taking the formal route was really learning how to differentiate quality sources of information from shit sources, right?
Yeah.
Now it's super easy. 5 seconds of listening to you talk, and I can understand whether or not you know anything, And I think that when you have to really dive through research papers and you have to dig for a lot of information, you have to really question about what you read and what they're trying to interpret, that translates into what we do as trainers and how I can try to get more quality information as the field grows.
That's why I always say, like, we'll go into bouncing off his formal route. So with my informal route was, and I give this advice to all coaches and whoever wants to, go independent and not go the college route, regardless, you need to be able to create your own school system. So I tell people all the time, like, you can't stop learning. So great, you don't want to go schooling the traditional way, but you got to create your own college now. So you need to find those people you're going to align yourself with, mentors, attend these workshops, seminars, whatever it is that, you know, you want to do, find the quality, you know, resources and certifications to get yourself that information, and start creating your own schooling system and holding yourself accountable to that. Because if not, you're not going to move anywhere, you know. And honestly, for me, I feel that when I did college for about almost 3 years, I went for physical therapy, then sports medicine, jumped to exercise science. And then I realized when I was at Equinox and I kept asking these coaches who had these degrees, and they would tell me, look, man, don't waste the rest of your money. Like, you're already doing what you want to do with an exercise science degree, and you're already learning more than what you do in school.
It's not going to increase your income.
It's not going to increase your income. Save that money. And I did that. You know, I did that, and I kept learning and just aligning myself with the right guys in Equinox and who they would connect me with. And I was just learning from there, and then just building up my core education through all that. And then I realized that, you know what, this was my route, you know. And like everybody's route's different, but I just tell people out there, like, if you don't do the traditional way, does not mean it's for you to think you're going to make all this money or grow without you not creating your own schooling system.
Yeah.
And that's super important.
I totally agree. And I think, like, an old cliche saying I use, like, success leaves clues, right? Like, seek out people that know what you know that you want. Like if you want to have the best nutrition education, I'm probably going to go to John Berardi, right, or Lane.
Yep.
Like, if I want mobility, I'm probably going to go to Onnit or John Wolf or Scott Sonnen, right?
Yeah.
If I want strength and conditioning, I'm probably, you know, or shoulder. I want to master shoulder, I'm going to Eric Cressy or Mike Robertson, right? There's people out there, and you have to seek out the best, and you call them. And you say, you have a seminar, is there a workshop, is there a mentorship? How can I take you to lunch? Like, make some sort of effort to take some of their knowledge, and then you apply, and then you start to create your own ecosystem. And that's kind of what I've done at Primal Fit. It's like a mix of fucking thousands of people, and I created my own little system, you know?
Do you think that people are afraid to, you know, cold call, reach out? Because, you know, when we were coming through the ranks, there wasn't Instagram when I was in college, when Anthony was started. Definitely, you know, wasn't around when you were getting your feet wet in the industry. But now everyone is giving away so much free information that, you know, at least I've seen people hesitate when they come try and ask me questions. I'm like, just, you know, say it with your chest, like get it out of your mouth, and then, you know, we can talk about it. But if you're, and I'm never going to be able to understand what you're trying to say. So do you think that, you know, because there is such a plethora of information out there, that people are afraid to, you know, reach out to people like you or us and say, like, hey, like, you know, what are your thoughts on this thing?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a millennial thing. I'm not sure. But I do know what you're talking about. Like, I absolutely know what you're talking about. Like, I've seen that with my own trainers, even back in the day, like when we were educating them, is mostly I had a couple that would reach out, and we, you know, for more help or to learn how to use a particular tool or whatever. But, like, I don't know if it's because there's just so much information out there, and you can go grab it on YouTube or Instagram, and there's not a direct path other than Perform Better. I mean, there's not, especially in Florida. Like, there's no continuing ed that comes to Florida anymore because we've been blacklisted.
Yeah.
You know, because trainers don't pay, they don't come out.
Right.
And I think bodybuilding may have something to do with that, you know, in South Miami, or we're just so far south. I don't know.
Well, it's easy to collect that cash, collect checks, you know, like, and I think, you know, we've talked about this before in the podcast, is putting some of the emphasis back on the consumer, right?
Absolutely.
Our clients, and saying, like, listen, you need to do your research.
You deserve better.
Yeah. Right. Like, you know, like you said before, if you hire a $60 trainer, you're going to get a $60 trainer, you know? And again, like, if you're starting out, I mean, when we worked at Equinox, getting paid $60, you know, was fine. You gotta do some things. You definitely in the fitness industry have to make a bunch of sacrifices in order to get to where you want to be in the industry. But as a consumer of fitness, you know, if you can afford good training, like, don't skimp on it, you know, because you wouldn't skimp on a good lawyer or a good accountant. You know, you said it the other day on your Instagram, you know, why why would you spend so much money investing in that and then not invest in the meat vessel that you have?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna say something that I think I've felt that I've seen and also heard from different people, especially in the fitness field. So like you were saying, you go back in the day, you know who you were you knew your heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. You know your heavy hitters for each type of training, whatever they dedicated to and specialize in the most. And I think what you see now more than ever is just like you said, there's a lot of saturation, a lot of people out there saying that they're the biggest, they're the heavy hitter. You know, social media can throw people off completely because of the spotlight. Oh, they're verified, they're this, they got all this stuff. Look at them, they look great, but are they great? You know, and not saying that there aren't. You know, there's a lot of the ones that are great, but there's a lot that may not be great. And I think also too that's throwing off a lot of people when wanting to then ask questions or being hesitant because there's just too many to pick from that they don't even know how to vet out which ones are the quality ones and which ones aren't. And then it actually puts a shadow on some of these heavy hitters where if you haven't been in the industry before, maybe slightly before all this started, you're not going to know who these people are.
Right.
You know, and many times, as we know, you go on social media, even some of those guys, their accounts are not that big.
No.
You know, and then what happens is you fool the person who looks and they're like, well,
he must not be that good.
That big.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth. You know, it's just, you know, that's how it happened. You know, so I think vice versa also too, what can help is maybe it's more the person as a coach looking for the right person, dig in deeper, search on other platforms, not just social media. Go on Google, type in, you know, the specifics names of what you're looking for to see what other names pop up in there. Do your research. And then I think on the other side too, I think as the heavy hitters, I think it can also show them and us like, you know, well, the market's shifted. Maybe I need to step into this world a little bit more and put more time to getting my knowledge out there heavier and try to grow my presence so people can actually see like I'm relevant here, you know, and I think it goes both ways, you know, but I think that's a big thing that I'm seeing a lot and I hear a lot. It's like a lot of people don't know who to go to. Yeah. And then also too is when they start something, they hear something else from somebody else and they're like, which one's a good one? Which one? And it's just, they don't know which one to stick to, where before, like you said, you grabbed the one, you would stick to it. Yeah. You would stick to it. Now you're just seeing so much that they start something and then they want to bounce over here because they heard that this guy's this or this one's better. And then it's just like, all this confusion. So
and it really goes back to that, like there's no regulation on anything. Like this is correct, this is not, right? Because there's really no one way to get results either, right? But you got the kettlebell guy, and you got the steel mace guy, and you got the mobility guy, and the animal flow guy, or the bodybuilding guy over here, and the powerlifting guy. He's right, of course. Look at him, right? And so it's like very difficult because there's just so many tools and there's so many philosophies, like not law, like law's law, right? There's the bar, and then there's the accountant, and then there's these professional organizations with that umbrella. And like I said, it's and this is how we kind of get looked at as not being professionals. And I know I'm wearing a tank top. Yes, I am. And you're jealous if you're hating on me.
He's got those guns. He's been working hard though. He's been working hard though. He's got to show those off. Come on, man.
25 years I wear shorts and tank tops to work every fucking day. That's right.
I love that part of the job.
Yeah, I love that part absolutely. But I think we seem to be looked at as muscle heads
sure.
And we're like even if you have a degree, you're already kind of stereotyped.
Yeah, I've been called the meathead a ton of times. So I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I'm more educated in terms of the amount of degrees I have than you. Yeah. Like, not that matters.
Right.
But if you want to play that game, like you're gonna lose it. Exactly. You know?
Yep.
And that's where you see a lot of times like you get that whole thing where it's like, you know, where they'll compare, but, you know, the doctor said or this said, and it's like, well, they don't know fitness.
Oh, that sends chills down my spine.
You know,
like, well, my doctor said this. I'm like, yeah, well, your doctor probably also took your blood pressure 5 seconds after you got into the room.
Yeah.
You know, and he's 40 pounds overweight himself. Like, you know, specialization is a great thing, but at the same time, people try to extend that specialization into other aspects that, you know, coincide with what they're doing without any backing on, you know, exactly the ramifications that are going to come from that.
Yeah, and I think here we go with like stay in your lane, right? Like I think in my opinion, if you're going to be in this industry, like you can't be just there to make people tired.
Nah, for sure.
You know, like, and it's just, that's me. And I know that's how you guys feel too. Like that's easy.
Unless you're annoying the shit out of me, then
Yeah.
I'm just gonna run. Then I'm just gonna run you into the ground.
Exactly. I mean, because we can do that. That's a tool we have in our toolbox, right? But I want to help somebody get healthy from the inside out. So therefore, I want to become, you know, somewhat of a nutrition expert myself, right?
Right.
And I'm not a dietitian, and I didn't go to school for that, but I'm gonna educate myself as much as possible on nutrition and mobility and restoration and sleep and stress management, you know, and because I want a holistic approach for my clientele, because I want to earn that $150 an hour. I'm not a $60 an hour trainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to, at least I got to be an expert in a lot of different things besides just program design and, you know, helping somebody lose weight.
Yeah. And I think too, you know, like people always say like, oh, you know, I want to work with athletes. I want to work with this. Like, well, you know, if you want to try to focus on a niche in athletics, which most people don't know when they get into the industry,
They don't want that.
they don't want that. You know, they don't want that. There's no job security. There's no nothing working at athletics. You're not getting paid. You know, I could go on and on about that. But why can't you find those niches in the general population? You know, like the people that Anthony trains are completely different than the people I train. You know, we're probably more similar than him and I are in terms of our clientele, but even the people that you and I see are very different. Like I train 2 people who are, you know, in the normal traditional nuclear family role, right? Mom, dad, kids. Other than that, I train, you know, CEOs and
Busy professionals.
and people who work, you know, in hospitality and they travel a ton. Whereas, you know, I know you usually train like a ton of families, you know, sometimes like 3 or 4 people in the same family. Same thing with you, right? You have a lot of lawyers, more, you know, professionals, but maybe they don't travel as much as the people who live on the beach do, right? Because it's very seasonal where on South Beach, you know. So I think people, instead of thinking all the time like, oh, I need to train athletes or I need to like try to get the most elites, like find a niche that works for you. You know, like if you're a female trainer and house moms are really, you know, they like the way you look and they like the way that you train people, like fuck it, go all in on housewives.
Yeah.
Like if you're, you know, a middle-aged father, you know, why not try to attract those people? Because they're going to trust you more than they're going to trust me. You know, I don't have any kids. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. So, you know, I don't live the same life that they live. So
Yeah, I think that's a common problem with trainers is not defining that avatar, that who they, and that's a young mistake, right? You just want to help everybody, but you know that old cliche, you try to help everybody, you help nobody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, and I've worked with athletes as well, and I remember chasing athletes years ago, and I remember my wife saying, because I was pissed off about this person, was unreliable and wanted to, you know, was cheap, talked me down, just signed a $40 million contract and tried to talk me down in prices. You know how they roll. They bring friends with them. They're seasonal. I'm like, my wife's like, who pays the bills? And I remember that like it was yesterday. And I was like, women? It's like, yep. What do they want? Fat loss? That's right. And they appreciate me and they show up on time. They pay on time. You know, they respect my time, right? So for me, I've kind of always kind of gone in, and I'm in the stretch therapy world too. So I do a lot of, you know, kind of rehab too. But for the most part, it's fat loss that the majority of your clientele, if you're listening, probably want that. And you can knock out multiple birds with one stone in that genre. And I know it's not a defined niche either, but I guess if you want to make money in the industry, you better know how to transform bodies.
And if your wife ain't jealous, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what have you seen like down in South Miami with the trainers? Like, do you find that they kind of know the clientele down there, or is that kind of the same talk that, you know, we hear on the beach, where it's like celebrity chasing, stuff like that?
You know, I gotta say, you know, in South Miami, like, you know, going down, it's gonna be a lot more. It's like Pinecrest, South Miami, Gables. It's very similar. So you're gonna get a lot of the, you know, families, the communities. You get a lot of trainers that they're gonna be training dad, mom, kids, grandma, grandpa. You know, you get that a lot down there.
Job security.
Job security, exactly. So for me, what I've seen always. For me, I've always had good retention with my people. A lot of the same people I've seen over and over again, kept a lot of my same clients, and I love it. You know, I love it because it just, you know, as a trainer, who doesn't love retention? You know, and
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, most people forget about that.
yeah. You know, instead of having to go out there to, you know, get more, keep the ones you have first, you know, and
Take care of you got.
yep.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten a new client in like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, just haven't needed to.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad, right?
So I would say, like, speaking about that, like, now that we're moving into that realm, like, we all know the health and fitness part is super important, but, like, I want to get your intake. Like, when did you realize, as far as, like, what was a big point in your career where, like, you had to realize, like, the business aspect, the connecting aspect with the client off the bat from the beginning? Like, when did you realize that was something that you had to, like, make a shift in and, like, learn more about business, connection, so you can actually get that client to be able to start training them?
Yeah, so I read this book, great book called Secret Service, and I recommend it to all trainers. The guy in the book is I think he owns hair salons, like a ton of hair salons, but it goes through every. I mean, you can use it for any business you have, but it's about customer service, and creating walking billboards, right? Creating raving fans, like you want to be the best part of someone's day. And that's when I had a lot of trainers, which I don't anymore, thank goodness. But you know, it's hard. Having trainers is tough.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've downsized. But anyway, that was a big thing with us. It was like, look, like say people's names often, because there's nothing sweeter than the sound of your own name. Anthony, that's what I'm talking about. Ant,
Boom.
thanks for coming, man. Have a good day. You know, these common things. They appreciate you coming. How are you? Good morning. And then saying people's names often, and, you know, touch, the power of touch, or to even touching from a distance. Anthony. But being the best part of their day. You want them leaving like feeling amazing. You know, so customer service is just huge. And like you said, building that relationship. Just don't, you know, how's Sammy doing? You got to know the kid's name. You got to know the dog's name. Try to know the wife's name. Try to know their birthday, of course. You can send them a birthday card. Like, these are over-delivering things, but they're kind of common sense that we forget about sometimes. It's not just about taking that money that one time. You want to take it every month. And it's your job to. And you should feel perfectly fine about doing it, because you're changing that person's lives. That's something we talked about it before, is like you're not just a trainer. You're preventing disease. You should be $100, $150, $200 a session, because people pay attention to what they pay for, and they're not gonna benefit from the what you have for them if they don't pay you for it. Like, they need to pay you for that information, because you're gonna save somebody's life. We're much more valuable than a lawyer or a doctor. So anyway.
I think it's important, you know, if you're a trainer listening, you know, or any type of health coach, people always relate things back to money, right? Money is everything, and especially in America, right? So figure out a way that you can relay the amount of costs that they're going to save in the healthcare, right? Like, sometimes with some of my clients, I'll throw out, you know, like, if you exercise 3 days a week, it drops your risk of heart disease this much, and then that can correlate into, you know, you saving this much money over the long term, plus your insurance will decrease because you're not getting sick, you're not going to the doctor, you're not at risk. Yep. Compared to most people in America. And all of these little savings in healthcare and not going to the doctor and not needing, you know, to go to Rite Aid or whatever it might be, it adds up over time, you know? So if you're a trainer listening, might not be a bad idea to do a little bit of research, find out, you know, what exactly are the health stats for the traditional American lifestyle, which is obviously horseshit. Horrible. And find out how much better that makes people when they exercise, you know, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, because it ties into retention. You know, can I get them to come in more often? You know, like, I'll tell my clients, like, oh, I want to train 2 days a week. Okay, perfect. But if you train 3 days a week, you know, it's about 75 to 80%, you know, better for you. You know, you get more results compared to 2 days a week. And if you go 4 days a week, then, you know, it's even better than 3 days a week. And then once you kind of get into the 5 to 7 days, like, it kind of tops off there, right? So I can get them to come in maybe a couple weeks, a month, an extra time or two, which is more money in my pocket. They get better results. They're more consistent, you know? So understanding a more all-encompassing approach to how you're trying to sell people, right? It is, I think, the underlying message here, right? Is like, you can attack them from different angles so that they can really start to understand, one, you know what the fuck you're talking about, right? You're not an idiot who's just trying to collect that check. But two, you know, that you're taking the time to really, you know, make sure that they're in the best hands possible. And if you can make people understand exactly, you know, what they need and how it's going to affect them, not only physically, but in their pocketbook, you know, then doesn't matter what you're going to cost, right? If you cost them 10 grand a year, but they're going to save 30 grand a year, they're going to take that any day of the week.
Right.
Definitely. And that's why one of the things that I see, you know, a lot, and, you know, we've gone through it, you know, we've gone through this too, is, you know, shut up and listen to that person. You know, a lot of times we want to just, you know, cause we get excited and we want to talk and tell them what we're going to do for them off the bat and offer this, and we're going to help you, you know, and sometimes we just overconsume them with all this stuff, and they haven't even been able to, you know, talk to you or tell them what's going on, all this stuff, you know. So, you know, it's like, I always give that advice: just sit back, shut up and listen, you know, ask the right questions just to gear the conversation, and be able to then give them the solution to all those issues and all the story they gave you, and you'll be able to know more about them, you know, and actually, you know, when you go talk to them back, you're more genuine, you know, and you actually know exactly what you need to give them as that solution.
I mean, you're creating a friendship. I mean, that's really what the bottom line is. You want to create a friendship. You want to make it like hard for if they were going to, hey man, times are tough right now. Instead of them saying, you know, hey, COVID hit, man, I got to quit. Maybe they go, hey, I'm going to have to go from 3 days a week to 2 days a week. Right. Or maybe I say, hey man, let me help you out during this time right now. I'm going to take you from $150 to $100 a session.
So I love that you said that. Actually, like, what are you doing right now, and what's the best advice you can give coaches out there to be able to even get their clients to realize that during this time it's even more important to keep your health up and not stop training, or even get them on more training? Like, what is something you're doing now, or like, how are you going about that?
Yeah, well, once again, try to take care of who you got as best you can, right?
Golden geese.
Nurture your existing clientele. Send texts, call them, you know, put the effort out there. You know, what I did in the very beginning was I had a mobility session on Friday. I had an accountability Zoom call on Monday. And then, you know, in conjunction with the training, because it can't be just about training, because people are going to lose. They're going to get bored with that. The value is just not there, you know, because they don't see you anymore. Right. So what people don't understand is that online, like, you really shouldn't drop your prices that much, because you can give a ton of value, more value than even if you're in person. It's so funny because people like expect consumers will be like, oh, it's cheaper, right? Like, hell no, I'm putting in more effort. Like, I'm on top of you. Like, I can text you, I can call you, you know, I can do your programming, I can do nutrition, accountability calls, mobility sessions. You can still do a ton of work. But I think with it's got to come, and then with online, like, you can do weight loss groups and fat loss and create private Facebook groups. That's what I've done, is create private Facebook groups. You know, I got 600 people in there, and I nurture.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I nurture it, and I nurture it, and I nurture it. You know, and then, you know, the old jab hook, right?
Yep.
I just nurture value. Then I say, boom, we're starting a 30-day weight loss challenge. And just to let you know, like, to trainers out there, when we're talking about health, like, I wish people could understand just how fast health can turn around in such a short amount of time. Like the power that we have with fitness and movement and stress management and just everything that we do, we can change people's lives so quick. It doesn't take 6 months. Shit can happen in 30 days. Incredible things can happen in 30 days. And I've seen that in my group, like, time and time again. It's not just about weight loss. I've seen LDL come down, HDL go up, triglycerides come down, C-reactive protein, all these inflammatory markers go down. Not to mention relationships with their wife or husband, right? You know, libido. I mean,
yeah, that's always been huge for me.
This is the shit that we do. Ain't no doctor doing that, man.
No.
Nope.
They
no,
provide,
no pill.
they
no
pop
pill
a
can
pill.
do that. Yeah.
That's what they do. There's no. I mean, that's just too easy. Like, we have to dive in a little deeper into food diaries and relationships at times.
Yeah.
And we can change so many factors in somebody's life quickly.
I love that.
Yeah. So, you know, speaking about relationships.
So up your rates.
Yeah.
Up your rates.
Yeah, right, for sure, definitely. So speaking about relationships, one that I know is super important to you is the one that you have with your dad, right? And he's made tremendous change in his own life, you know, even, you know, compared to, you know, what was it, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago that he decided he was really going to, like,
Dive in.
Focus on his health and really make it a priority. And, man, he's killing it now. And I know you guys wrote
72, yeah.
I know you guys wrote a book together, Boomer Strong.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that and where people can find that at.
Well, I mean, look, it's perfect timing, right? When we have a virus like that coming around. So, like, look, my dad's message has always been prevention and not being a burden on the healthcare industry, not be a burden on your family, taking responsibility for your health, which is like what we as coaches always try to get our clients to do is like, listen, stop acting like a 15-year-old. You can't have cereal anymore for breakfast, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I love cereal.
You're not in college. You can't drink like that anymore. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're drinking like a college student. That's not good, But, just giving people the tools, going through, let's talk about 60% obesity rate in the country. Let's talk about probably 80% overweight. Or 80%, probably 90% insulin resistance in this country, right? We're a sick nation. So going through that stuff and just the effects, the negative effects that poor nutrition and not moving, not getting up. My dad's like, just get off the couch. Get off the fucking couch, right? Just how about start a walking program?
Yeah.
So just kind of, and he's talking to his peers. He's very passionate because he has friends that have died and they, it's inevitable. But he's 72 and he's not ready to go yet.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And, first of all, like, congrats to both of you, and for that book. So I would say from there, something that just had me thinking already right now, like, you having that relationship with your dad. I know as coaches, we've talked about it. It could be tough to get through your parents and siblings as a coach because you know how that whole dynamic plays where, well, or my doctor or this or I don't, and they see you as your child. They see you, so they don't sometimes see you as the professional you are. So like, how were you guys able to do that? How was that conversation? How were you able to coach that? Was it differently? Was it the same? Was it both an understanding on both sides? Like, how was it? Because I know a lot of coaches can use that help, especially now during these times, to be able to get their points across to their parents, to their siblings, and be able to help them. Like, how were you able to do that?
So I'm gonna talk about my in-laws for a second, right? So and I think it goes back to my dad too. Just proofs in the pudding, right? I've been doing it a long time. They've seen the before and after pictures. They've seen what the transformations and the testimonials that I've been able to. Luckily,
Grace right now, your wife,
my wife,
she's killing it.
Is
absolutely killing it.
Lives it. But my in-laws are Cuban, and he's a doctor. And you got a Cuban doctor, that's tough. It's tough to get through to a Cuban doctor, right? And he's short. So I'm like, yo, this guy's got, multiple complexes at one time. So, but he sees.
He's a big fan of podcasts. Hopefully he'll be listening.
No, he's not. But he, shout out to Poppy. He's good. He's a good dude. But I got through to him just recently. It's so funny because my mother-in-law is overweight. She's had two bouts with breast cancer. It's kind of like, mommy, like, come on. Like, are you guys done? And like, honestly, what he said to me was like, Matthew, I'm 69, son. The average life expectancy in this country is 75 or something. He was like, I've only got 6 years left. And I'm like, for real? For real? Like, that's where you're at? Like, you're not even going to try. You're done. Like, you're just waiting to die at 76. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that, especially after they retire. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to sit on the couch and drink my beer. You know what I mean? And they just don't do shit anymore. But I got through to him and I got them to clean out the house. I couldn't believe it. Somehow I got through to those guys. I said, look, let's get the shit out of the house. Cuban crackers gone. Like the cover, the fucking kitchen is full of just processed food. So I got through to them and now they're like, and he goes, it's amazing. I feel amazing. I can't believe it. I'm like, I've been telling you this for 17 years. Yeah. 17 years I've been telling you this shit, man. And now he's like, he finally gets the shit out of his diet and his energy's better. And my mother-in-law wants to get off the couch and go for a walk now. She has energy. I'm like, Jesus. Wow.
Well, like you were saying before, though, right? It doesn't take 6 months, right? Like just catching a little bit of that feeling, that, oh, fuck, this is what it's like to be healthy. This is what it's like to actually, feel good about my body internally and externally. All it takes is that little taste.
That's
right?
it.
It's crazy because, like, even us, like, you know, when we have our time where, let's say we go on vacation, we have our cheat or something, you know, the moment we come back and we get on our shit again, it's like, whoa.
Yep.
I feel so good.
Well,
Yeah.
but why did I do that to myself?
Yep.
I hate starting
Yep.
from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of this, you know, COVID lockdown, like,
Yeah.
you know, I lost like 10 pounds just because I wasn't training as
Yeah.
much, and I was sitting around inside the house and not outside being active, you know, working out with my clients and stuff, because a lot of them were obviously on FaceTime. So for me, it was like getting back outside, getting out in the sunlight, getting some sprints in, you know,
Yeah.
swinging some kettlebells and some masons around. It was like, fuck, I feel good.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so invigorating, and then talk about the endorphin release, right? I mean, the feel good hormones that you get from movement. That's why walking is sometimes the best place to start with people. You know, obviously, you know, I start with nutrition first usually, but yeah, it's such a rewarding position that we're in. You know, and I don't take it lightly. I'm really passionate about it, and I just love being on that journey with people. I mean, especially if I can get a family member to do it too. The people that are closest to us.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. That's some cool stuff. I got to do that.
Yeah.
I gotta find a way to get through my mom.
Gotta have a serious talk.
Now, you motivated me.
Well, I'll get you a copy of Boomer Strong. I mean, my dad's a carpenter, man.
I always see him, you know, every
Yeah.
time I've been to Primal Fit, he's building something for
Building
you know,
something.
building some cabinet or some shelf for the kettlebells. And, you know, it's not, that manual labor is not always easy,
No,
man. You know,
no.
not always easy. And he absolutely kills it. It's
He
just
does it. He
no
does.
complaining, no
No,
nothing,
he
you
gets
know.
after. He loves it. But I mean, the fact that he just wrote a book, and it's a good book.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I was like, we don't have the money to like get on. He's like, I want to get on Good Morning America. I want to be on Oprah. I want to get in Barnes and Noble. I'm like, Dad, Barnes and Noble doesn't really exist anymore. And kind of went out with Blockbuster. And
Yeah. Kindle.
Yeah.
You can
We'll
get on
bring him
Kindle.
to
know?
the podcast.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully.
Bring
Yeah,
him to
we'll
the
bring,
podcast.
we'll
Yeah.
bring
Bring
him
you
on one
both,
time for
both,
sure.
both of you guys.
Yeah.
The next
No,
one.
No, that would
he's
be
got
great.
He's got a great message, man. I think he'd probably get through. I mean,
Yeah.
because your mom knows you know your stuff, but there's sometimes seeing my dad, he trains hard too. He trains and he's just on top of it. But I think he would inspire you and a lot of others. And
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah,
We'd
sure.
love that. We'll definitely figure that out.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, man, we're almost at an hour, you know.
I could talk to you guys all day.
I know, man.
Talking shop.
I know.
Talking shop.
Before we wrap things up, let everyone know where they can find you and you know how they can get more of all this great stuff that you've been telling us.
Oh, thanks. PrimalFitMiami.com is my website. You can find me at Primal Fit Miami on Instagram, Facebook, Matt Pack, and Primal Fit. Yeah, and Google me. I'm pretty out there. I'm trying to be out there as much as you guys, trying to create that family and create that community that you guys are doing. So you guys inspire me.
That 30 for 30 you were doing, man, was great. I've been following that along and, you know, using some of the tips and passing those along to my clients. So,
Yeah.
you know, keep it up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just keeping content out there, man.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned from you guys. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like, just keep putting value out. And I've got a ton in my head. So I had to wake up with it. And I'm like, I'm going to do a top 10 list. Or I'm going to do so it's just
Yeah, it was great, man.
So-
We'll have to come up real soon and get a workout
for
in, too.
sure.
So Matt,
Love
like
that.
before we close this off, like what's one huge piece of advice that you can give to all our listeners? You know, something that they can take away with them today.
Yeah, I would say it has to be, you got to find a mentor. I mean, and reach out and find a mentor. I just think it can be invaluable to have somebody in your corner that's been there. You know, like I said, success leaves clues. I tell that to fat loss people too. I'm like seek, like you can't don't reinvent the wheel, right? Somebody has already made the mistakes. So seek out somebody that's already doing what you want and they're already successful at it. Pick their brain, pay them. And it works kind of in every field in life. So I think in the fitness field, I think it's for sure is get trainers to start finding mentors and don't let schooling get in the way of your education, right? Like
Hell yeah.
just continue to educate because there's just always something new to learn. Yeah.
You heard it, guys.
Awesome,
Find
man.
a mentor.
Thanks, Matt. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Much love.